The great Library of Alexandria wasn't destroyed in a single catastrophic fire. The image of a sudden, all-consuming blaze is powerful, but it's not the truth. The familiar story of one terrible day is a myth, a simplification of a much more complex reality. The truth is far more intricate, involving centuries of change, conflict, and neglect. The library's end was a slow, painful process, not a single explosion of flame. Its decline stretched across generations, marked by moments of crisis and long periods of quiet erosion. It suffered from war, political ambition, religious intolerance, and most insidiously, neglect. Each of these forces chipped away at its collections and its spirit. The idea of one great fire is compelling, but history is rarely so neat. The truth is messier, shaped by many hands and many decisions, both deliberate and accidental. The real story is a warning. Knowledge is fragile, and its preservation requires constant effort. Without vigilance, even the greatest achievements can slip away. By focusing on a single cataclysm, we miss the slow decay, funding cuts, shifting politics, and rising dogmatism. These quieter threats are often more dangerous than any single disaster. The library's demise reflected a civilization turning away from curiosity and open inquiry. When a society stops valuing knowledge, its treasures become vulnerable. As we explore the real story, let's set aside the myth and look at the evidence. Only by understanding the true causes can we learn from the past. The truth is a gradual fading, a brilliant light dimmed by many hands over centuries. Understanding this process matters because it reveals how easily knowledge can be lost. It shows that preserving knowledge is an active choice, not a given. Every generation must decide whether to protect or abandon what it inherits. The Library of Alexandria wasn't just lost, it was allowed to disappear. Its fate was sealed not by one event, but by a series of choices and failures. Its story is a cautionary tale for every generation. We must ask ourselves, are we doing enough to safeguard our own knowledge? Let's uncover how this legendary institution truly met its end, and what its legacy means for us today. To understand what was lost, we must travel back to 3rd century BCE Alexandria. Founded by Alexander the Great, Alexandria became the world's intellectual capital. The Ptolemies, its rulers, dreamed of collecting all human knowledge under one roof. They created the museum, a research institute, and the library, its beating heart. Scholars from across the world were invited, given stipends, and freed from taxes. Their mission to think, debate, and push the boundaries of understanding. The library was more than a collection. It was a living organism of thought. Ancient descriptions evoke grand halls lined with shelves, filled with tens of thousands of scrolls. This was the world's first true research university and national library. The Ptolemies believed that gathering knowledge would spark new ideas and discoveries. The library was a beacon of civilization, a bold declaration that knowledge matters. The Ptolemies were relentless in their quest for knowledge, driven by a vision to make Alexandria the intellectual heart of the ancient world. Their agents scoured the Mediterranean, buying every scroll they could find, from bustling markets to distant ports, seeking wisdom from every corner of the known world. Ships docking in Alexandria were thoroughly searched for books and scrolls, which were then copied for the library's ever-growing collection. The originals were kept in Alexandria, while owners received high-quality copies, a bold policy that helped build the world's greatest repository of knowledge. Ptolemy III even kept Athens' prized manuscripts, willingly forfeiting a massive deposit just to secure the originals for Alexandria's shelves. The library's scholars didn't just collect, they translated, compared, and organized texts, making sense of a vast sea of information. The Septuagint, the Greek translation of the Hebrew Bible, was one landmark project, opening sacred texts to new audiences and bridging cultures. The library's mission was cosmopolitan, making knowledge accessible across languages and cultures and fostering dialogue between civilizations. Librarians like Callimachus created vast, detailed catalogs, mapping the world of ideas and making it easier for scholars to find what they needed. The library was a dynamic center of scholarship, alive with debate, discovery, and collaboration, not a passive warehouse of dusty scrolls. Its innovative systems of cataloging and translation set the standard for centuries, influencing libraries and scholars far beyond Alexandria. Alexandria's drive to acquire, copy, and share knowledge was unprecedented, shaping the intellectual landscape of the ancient world. It created an intellectual ecosystem unlike any before, inspiring generations to come and leaving a legacy that still echoes today. What filled the library's shelves? Nearly everything known to the ancient world. It held the complete works of Homer, Plato, Aristotle, many now lost to us. Multiple editions allowed scholars to compare and refine texts, birthing textual criticism. The collection spanned cultures: Babylonian histories, Egyptian texts, astronomical charts. The loss is staggering. Entire civilizations' voices, scientific treatises, and creative works vanished. Within its walls, Eratosthenes measured Earth's circumference, Heron built a steam engine, Aristarchus proposed a heliocentric model. Most of these works survive only in fragments or references. The destruction wasn't just the loss of old books, it erased potential futures. The library's fall forced humanity to rediscover knowledge already known. Its loss reset the course of intellectual progress. The first major blow to the Library of Alexandria is often linked to the actions of Julius Caesar, a figure whose ambition and military campaigns shaped the ancient world. In 48 BCE, during a fierce siege, Caesar's troops set fire to Alexandria's bustling harbor, hoping to block enemy ships and secure their position. The flames quickly spread out of control, leaping from ship to shore and engulfing nearby warehouses. These buildings may have contained thousands of precious scrolls and irreplaceable documents. Ancient sources claim that as many as 40,000 scrolls were lost in the chaos, though most historians believe the main library building itself survived this disaster, at least for the time being. This was not the library's total destruction, but it was a devastating warning, a sign that even the greatest centers of knowledge were not immune to the violence of war. Caesar himself valued learning and culture. The fire was never intentional, but rather a tragic accident, collateral damage in a much larger power struggle for control of Egypt. This event is a stark reminder of how easily knowledge can be lost amid political chaos and the ambitions of powerful men. In the aftermath, the library endured, its shelves replenished by generous gifts, such as Mark Antony's legendary donation of scrolls from Pergamum, helping to restore what was lost. Yet the fire marked a turning point, exposing the library's vulnerability to the world and to history. The library was no longer seen as invincible, but as a fragile beacon of knowledge, threatened by the world's violence and uncertainty. The scholars and caretakers adapted, rebuilding what they could, but the scars of this tragedy would never fully fade from memory. This was only the first of many wounds the library would suffer in its long and troubled history. The warning was clear. Even the greatest repositories of human achievement are fragile, and their treasures can vanish in an instant. Greater dangers and darker days still lay ahead for the Library of Alexandria. After Caesar's fire, the library's decline became slow and silent. Under Roman rule, Alexandria lost its status, and funding dwindled. The city's intellectual golden age faded as priorities shifted to Rome. The library became more a university than a cutting-edge research center. Political instability and civil unrest plagued Alexandria. In 272 CE, Emperor Aurelian's campaign destroyed the Bruchion district, likely erasing what remained of the original library. By then, the institution was a shadow of its former self. The real killer was neglect. Budgets cut, buildings decayed, scholars left. The idea of universal knowledge eroded, replaced by practical concerns. The library's light dimmed, not with a bang, but with a whimper. Its decline is a warning about the dangers of apathy. Great institutions die not just from violence, but from indifference. The library's daughter institution, the Serapeum, met a dramatic end. In 391 CE, as Christianity became Rome's official faith, pagan temples were targeted. The Patriarch Theophilus led a mob to destroy the Serapeum, symbol of pagan learning. The fate of its scrolls is unclear. Some say destroyed, others dispersed. The event's meaning is clear: knowledge was destroyed in the name of ideological purity. This was not neglect or accident, but deliberate erasure. The clash between open inquiry and dogmatism ended with the triumph of intolerance. In the ruins of the Serapeum, a chapter of intellectual history closed. In 642 CE, Arab armies conquered Alexandria. The most famous story claims Caliph Omar ordered the library's books burned as heretical or redundant, but this tale, first recorded centuries later, is almost certainly a myth. By then, the library and Serapeum were already gone. The legend served as propaganda, painting the conquest as hostile to learning. In reality, the early Islamic world preserved and expanded ancient knowledge. Scholars in Baghdad and Cordoba translated Greek works, reviving Alexandria's spirit. The bathhouse burning is a ghost story, distracting from the real, gradual loss. The library's end was not a single act, but a long process involving many hands. Its destruction was the result of war, neglect, intolerance, and shifting power. The myth of a final burning overshadows a more profound truth. The Library of Alexandria is gone, but its legacy endures as an idea. The dream of a universal library echoes in our universities and the internet. Its destruction reminds us, knowledge is fragile and must be actively preserved. We must guard against neglect, conflict, and dogmatism that threaten learning. The 1,000 cuts that ended Alexandria can happen again if we're not vigilant. Exploring lost histories connects us to our ancestors and the evolution of human thought. The curiosity that drove Alexandria's scholars still drives us to explore the cosmos. Don't accept simple stories. Dig deeper, question, and wonder. The story of Alexandria is one of many in humanity's journey of discovery and loss. By studying them, we learn about the universe and ourselves. Let's continue this journey together. The universe is full of wonders, waiting to be explored.